Our first set of Premier League midweek fixtures definitely did not disappoint. There were some brilliant games in there and some massive shocks. We got one score correct, which was Brighton beating Brentford, but I'd just like to highlight a few performances. First of all, Luton, yes, they lost against Arsenal, but what a performance from them. They were leading at one stage, 3-2, and they lost to a last minute winner, which I feel like has happened too often at Kenilworth Road, but they're very, very good at home. They don't get battered at all, and they are going toe-to-toe with some of the big boys. So well done to Luton for that performance, and I think if they can play like that every week, they will be fine. Then Aston Villa absolutely destroyed Man City. I don't think I've seen anybody do that to Pep Guardiola's Man City, so they looked very, very good, and now they're looking like a side that could get Champions League, because I said it's a big test at home against a top side. They haven't had that this season so far. They've just had it and they've passed that test with flying colours. If anything, the 1-0 scoreline flattered Man City because it could have easily been more. And then Everton getting that result, 3-0 against Newcastle. I thought they had no chance of getting anything because they're poor at home, but a brilliant performance from Everton to get all 3 points in a convincing fashion. That's it. Not looking back on that round now. Time for the next round, round 16. It's the weekend. Let's hope for some good games. We start with Palace against Liverpool. Now Palace, they've only won one in their last 8. They look very poor at the moment, and I don't know what's going on. I mean, under Vieira, they were looking to move forward, get their style of play working. He had a tough period of fixtures, really tough fixtures, against teams all above them. Didn't do very well, but then was sacked. Hodgson came in, performed against loads of easy teams, and looked like he was doing a good job. However, this season, they've gone backwards. I don't think Hodgson being appointed was the right move, because they sacked him in the first place to get away from that. They wanted to rebrand. They're not doing that, and they're struggling yet again. So I'm worried for Palace this season, and I think they could get dragged into a bit of a relegation battle if the bottom 3 pick up their points. Liverpool, great form, second in the league now, and with a win here, they could go top until Arsenal play, depending on what they do. So Liverpool are having a good season so far. Very, very hard to beat. Getting those late winners, the late one against Fulham, well, they were 3-2 down until an 87 and 89th minute goal. So great work from Liverpool there. Got a win against Sheffield United in the week, and I think they might make it 3 in a row here. I'm going to go for Liverpool to win 2-1. Brighton face Burnley next. Brighton, little bit inconsistent, but they don't lose too many. 8th in the league at the moment. They beat Brentford 2-1, and in the unlikely circumstance that all of the results go their way, they could move up to 5th this weekend. So they are still having a good season, even though they're not looking great. Burnley, not in very good form. They did get that 5-0 win against Sheffield United, however, which made me think maybe they will perform. I expected them at least to score against Wolves, but a 1-0 loss, and they're kind of looking a bit down again. I just thought they'd capitalise on the fact they'd just scored 5 and go out against Wolves and score some goals. I mean, they didn't play badly, but they couldn't get that clinical touch. I think they'll score here because Brighton have conceded in every Premier League game this season, but I do think Brighton will win 3-1. Man United take on Bournemouth. Now, Man United, they don't draw. They're the only side in England's top 4 divisions to have not drawn a league game this season. So either winning or losing is pretty good as long as it's balanced, or obviously more wins. They're a lot higher in the table than you'd expect considering their performances, because they're only 3 points behind Man City, which is a massive, massive shock. But they did get a good win, 2-1 against Chelsea last time out. It was probably their most convincing performance of the season. And they've just had a good day because Erik ten Hag picked up Manager of the Month for November. Harry Maguire got Player of the Month, and Garnacho obviously got Goal of the Month for that stunning overhead kick against Everton. Now Bournemouth, they have been in good form recently, 4 unbeaten, 3 of those being wins, and they're looking like they're finally clicking under Iraola. I think they could make this a very difficult game, and it might be a bit of a shock, but that's why I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. Next up is Sheffield United against Brentford. Sheffield United haven't scored in their last 2 and have lost 3 in a row. Still really struggling at the foot of the table. Brentford, they have lost 3 of their last 4, however those losses have came against Liverpool, Arsenal and Brighton. So maybe it's not all doom and gloom for the Bees. They are a good footballing side at this level, as they've proven time and time again. Even without Ivan Toney, they are very well functioning, and I don't think Sheffield United should cause them too many issues. Brentford don't tend to blow people away, so I will go for a 2-1 win for the Bees. Wolves take on Nottingham Forest next, and the highlight in this game is that Steve Cooper's time looks like it could be running out very, very soon. Wolves obviously carried on their great home form, 5 unbeaten, and they won against Burnley, only 1-0, but a win is a win, and that adds to their other 4 fixtures, which were a win against Man City, a win against Spurs, and draws against Villa and Newcastle. So great form at home from Wolves, and that's why I think you can see where this is going. Now Forest don't seem to be performing to the level they're capable of, because they do have some very, very strong players. I think they should be much higher in the table, but I'm not sure that it's Steve Cooper's fault, as I think the players have just lost interest by the looks of it. It's always hard to keep such a packed dressing room happy, and there's so many players that Forest have at the moment that could be playing first team football in the Premier League that aren't getting a sniff. I think it's causing a bit of a bad atmosphere, and you could tell that from the 5-0 loss against Fulham. They were absolutely battered, and Fulham aren't a great side this season, especially not for scoring goals, because they've lost Mitrovic, but they got blown away. And I think that Forest may lose here, and we may see the end of Steve Cooper as Forest boss, but I don't think it'll be a long time before he's in another job. Wolves to win 2-1. The big fixture for the weekend is on Saturday night, where Villa take on Arsenal, and I hate to say it, but Villa were brilliant against Man City. 14 wins at home in a row in the league. That obviously means they've won all their home games this season. If they could pick up their away form a bit, they'd be top of the league now. And they absolutely battered Man City, which I can't believe that sentence came out of my mouth, to be honest, because 1, Man City don't get battered by anyone, and 2, it's Aston Villa. 2 years ago, they looked like they were about to get relegated under Gerrard. Now, Emery has them in a brilliant position, and it looks like they could be fighting for the Champions League. If not, I don't want to say it, but the league. If he can carry on with his home form, if they don't slip up too much, I don't see why they're not in the fight. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope they drop off, but they are flying. Arsenal, good form, 4 wins in a row, but they were very lucky against Luton, because Luton really, I think, surprised them in that one. Arsenal were shaky, but most important thing, they got the job done, which is what you need to do when you don't perform well. You just need to make sure that your performances pick up. So I expect to see a response here from Arsenal, but I don't think Villa are going to give in too easily. However, I think their winning run may come to an end. I'll go for a 1-1 draw. Everton face Chelsea next, and this should be an interesting one, as Everton have won 4 out of their last 6 fixtures, only losing 1 of them. They've been in very good form and beat Newcastle 3-0 in midweek, a result that I did not see coming. Chelsea, not great form. Their last 2 away games, they've been battered. 4-1 by Newcastle, and although it's only 2-1 by Man United outplayed them in pretty much every aspect. They just weren't clinical enough, because it could have easily been more. All those things being said, Chelsea have an expensive squad. They should be able to get everything here, and that's why I'm going to go for Everton to win it 2-1. Fulham face West Ham next. I can't believe it, but Fulham have scored 8 goals in their last 2 home games, albeit they scored 3 against Wolves and probably 2 of them should have been ruled out, but they're scoring without Mitrovic, which feels like a massive victory for Fulham because I didn't think they'd cope too well this season, but they're finding goals. Willian, Iwobi, Andreas Pereira, players chipping in to finishing, and it's going alright for Fulham at the moment, especially at home. West Ham, 4 games unbeaten in the league, 3 of those wins. The latest was a 2-1 against Spurs. They've got a very, very nice squad, West Ham do, and if they can get them all singing off the same hymn sheet, they will be able to take down a lot of people because they're just lacking that consistency. I feel like they have spells where a couple of games just pass them by. I'm going to go for West Ham to get all 3 points here, but there seems to be a lot of goals at the moment, and there does seem to be a few in West Ham games, so I'm going to go for a 3-2 win for the Hammers. It's Luton against Man City next, and this, really on paper, Man City should blow them away. However, Luton recently at home have been putting in some good performances. They haven't been coming away as many points as they probably deserve, losing very late on to Arsenal in the week, losing by 1 goal against Tottenham, getting a draw against Liverpool when they conceded at the death, but they're putting in the performances and they are taking some points and scaring a lot of the big sides because they're just not used to being in such a small stadium, an atmosphere like that, facilities like that, because the locker rooms are going to be very different from the ones they'll be experiencing at most Premier League grounds. I think it is getting to a few players and making Luton be able to perform well in these big games. Man City at the moment haven't won in their last 4 Premier League games, which someone will have to look at it, but I can't remember the last time that happened. They've drawn 3 of them. They lost 1-0 against Villa in the week and were battered, only having 2 shots in the game, both from Haaland, both on target, and both fell within the same 10 seconds. So other than that attack, City didn't do anything, which is testament to Villa, but it also shows you that Man City at the moment are struggling to find an answer. They were missing Rodri in that match, which probably would have helped them gain a bit more control, but they have been not at their very best recently. All things considered, this will go either one of 2 ways. Luton haven't been battered at home. They've only ever lost by the odd goal since they've been in the Premier League if they lose. Either that will go and Man City will absolutely tear them apart, or Luton will get something. And I'm going to go for the exciting version. I'm going to go for Luton to snatch a point in a 2-2 draw. Finally, Spurs take on Newcastle. Spurs, in their last 5 games, have drawn 1, lost 4, and they've led in every single one of those games. So they've actually managed to drop 14 out of a possible 15 points from winning positions. Not great reading if you're a Spurs fan. They have got a lot of problems with injuries at the moment, but you'd still expect the squad they've got to be winning some of these games. Newcastle, they are very, very poor away. They're actually in the bottom 5 in the league for away form this season. Bit of a shock. I know St James's Park is always better than away for Newcastle, but I'm surprised that they're as bad as they are away. They lost 3-0 against Everton away in the week. I think it will be a tough one. I think a certainty is that Spurs will go ahead because they always start very strongly. Can Newcastle pick themselves back? I think so, but I think we're in for a 1-1 draw. So, those are my predictions for these Premier League fixtures. Make sure to like and subscribe. Hopefully the games are as entertaining as they look, as there are some proper crackers here, and it should be a good weekend of football.